AMD's Threadripper 3990X, probably one of the simplest CPU reviews that you've seen in recent times, because the bottom line is, if you're after as many cores and threads as you can possibly get on a high-end desktop system, this is the CPU to get. There is zero competition when it comes to this product, and there's definitely no debate when it comes to value comparing the 3990X to two of Intel's Xeon 8280 Platinums, costing you around 20 grand US. So if you're after as many cores and threads as you can possibly get your hands on, here it is, the 3990X. And what I want to cover in this video is, less whether you should buy this versus Intel's 8280 Platinums, and more so which applications and workflows actually benefit from a substantially higher core count, and where you might be better off with, say, 8 to 16 cores instead, or perhaps offloading that work to your GPU. But there are some use cases where the 3990X does actually make sense. So if you missed my review on AMD's Threadripper 3970X, the 32-core model, here's a quick summary. These CPUs are truly in a category of their own, and they're truly pushing the workflows and the amount of time saved by creative professionals. If you use your system to make a living and your workflow can be accelerated by additional cores, 3rd gen Threadripper is a worthwhile investment. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves, because there are many workflows out there where, sure, bumping up to 16, 24, or even 32 cores will save you a chunk of time, but 64 cores may not give you any worthwhile additional benefit. So the 3990X then exhibits the full scalability of the Zen 2 architecture, containing 8 8-core dies. It also shares the same 280 watt power target as the 24-core and 32-core models by moderating a lower base and boost clock, but we'll take a closer look at that in just a minute. L2 and L3 cache get a nice bump too from the 32-core model, and overall the 64-core is around twice as expensive. Now of course, when you see the advertised boost clock of 4.3 GHz, that's not going to be across all 64 cores. Instead, you're going to see that in extremely lightly threaded workloads across a single core at best. Instead, for the 3990X to be a sensible desktop CPU and stay within its 280 watt power target, the clock speeds are reduced a lot closer to base clock. This is definitely something to keep note of, as this makes the 3990X a pretty specialized CPU. If you need a balance between high core count and high clock speeds at the same time, you're probably better off with something like a 3960X or 3970X. Now in terms of thermal performance, this is pretty interesting, seeing as the 280 watt power target is spread over double the amount of core complex dies compared to the 32-core 3970X, we actually get better thermals. Here we're looking at the temperature plot for each of the 8 CCDs being cooled by a 280mm Kraken X62, and we only see the hottest data point at a mere 71.5 degrees C. One reason for this is, just as we saw with the 3960X and 3970X, to stay within that 280 watt power target, voltage is cleverly dropped to impressively low levels. The 3990X maintains a V-core in Blender of just 0.84 volts, but remember, the only reason it's able to do this is due to the relatively low clock speeds at the same time. Still though, that is some serious undervolting on AMD's behalf. Thumbs up there. A quick note on the test hardware used here. The 3990X was tested on the ASUS TRX40 Zenith 2 Extreme, paired with 32GB of low latency 3200MHz CL14 memory. All test benches get their own M.2 NVMe drive, and I'm using the Kraken X62 280mm AIO, which had no issues. So let's start off with a look at rendering performance, and as I said in the beginning, I want to focus the discussion of these results more so on what the performance margins and scaling is like over something like the 3970X. Because although we do have double the core count, we are operating at about 900 MHz lower at full load, and some applications aren't even programmed to utilize all 128 threads appropriately. Fortunately though, in Cinebench R20 with all threads enabled, we get some fairly promising scaling here, scoring 46% higher than the 3970X. If you do use Maxon Cinema 4D software for some serious work and you want the absolute fastest performance performance, there really is no better choice, but also consider the 3960X and 3970X for better value. Switching to a single thread, we can see that despite having 128 in total, the 3990X still knows what to do in lightly threaded workloads. Many multi-threaded applications will still have a few lightly threaded tasks within them, so this is pretty great to see. Continuing on with rendering, let's take a look at Blender now, and here we don't see much scaling beyond the 3970X. The reason for this is that a large portion of the render time here, at least for these extremely fast CPUs like the 3970X and 3990X, actually involves overhead like initialization and synchronization. This is usually lightly threaded or even serial coded, and so it doesn't speed up the more cores that you add. Moving on to a different rendering scene, we see a similar story, a big upgrade from the 2950X to the 3970X, but the 3990X is only saving you around 20 seconds per render for this particular scene. No doubt, if you're working on absolutely huge projects and rendering all day long, and by all means if your project has the budget for it, the 3990X might be worth considering. Let's not forget GPU rendering though. An RTX 2080 Super can give you respectable render times here, so definitely explore that as an option too if Blender is your main program of choice. Lastly, for rendering, we have V-Ray, a path tracing rendering benchmark where the entire scene is resolved at once. Here there's definitely some impressive scaling for the 3990X. For a single CPU, a score of 74,000 is simply insane. That's a 60% improvement over the 32-core 3970X despite the lower clock speeds. Now let's move on to video editing, and here I personally wasn't expecting much at all beyond the 3970X. In fact, taking a look purely at render times here, there's no improvement at all. That's with 6K Blackmagic RAW footage with a LUT and video stabilization applied too. No doubt, maybe if you threw 4 multicam shots of 8K uncompressed red RAW footage on the same timeline and exported that, you'd probably see some scaling at that point. On the note of timeline playback, that is something that is becoming a lot harder to test as Premiere Pro becomes increasingly unpredictable, and it also heavily depends on the footage and codec that you're using. For example, 6K Blackmagic RAW files, despite being 6K RAW video, are surprisingly efficient to edit with, where even a Ryzen 5 3600 can provide a flawless timeline and editing experience. DaVinci Resolve Studio is my personal editing software of choice though, and again, we see zero benefit by upgrading from a 3970X to a 3990X. I will also note that Resolve 16 allows you to leverage the GPU as the video encoder. That's what I personally use to encode all of my videos in H.265, and at that point, all export times are basically the same. So unless you are working with some seriously stubborn and inefficient footage, and a lot of it at the same time, you're not going to see great performance scaling with a 3990X. Even the 3970X is difficult to recommend for most avid video editors and content creators. I did also test Adobe Lightroom export performance to see whether photographers may benefit by upgrading to a super high core count CPU, and it seems like the results here are fairly mixed, but overall trending towards a higher clock speed. If you use Lightroom professionally, you're likely better off with a moderate core count of around 8 while choosing a CPU with a higher boost clock. Lastly, a look at game development, and here we're in Unreal Engine, and we're seeing how long it takes each CPU to build the lighting for the given demo. For large scenes with multiple light sources, this could take quite a while, but we don't see much scaling beyond the 3970X here. Ultimately, my recommendation here would probably be the 3950X, which isn't on this graph, but I'd expect that to perform pretty closely. Next, we're seeing how long it takes to export and package the demo project. This is important for agile testing, but this seems like one of those tasks that is mostly serial coded, seeing as most of the packaging process needs to be completed in a specific order. And just to wrap things up, a few gaming benchmarks, which I originally wasn't going to include because this isn't a gaming CPU, but many of you may be using a production system to game on as well when the boss isn't looking. Overall, expect some pretty solid performance here, close to 3970X in most titles, but possessing 128 threads does introduce some problems for some titles. For example, the 3990X suffers from the same stuttering and low performance in Far Cry 5 as the 3970X, and despite fresh installs of Windows, chipset drivers, graphics drivers, pretty much everything, this isn't an issue that I've been able to solve. Same issue in Battlefield 5, which was a bit of a stuttery mess. The 3970X here otherwise was fine. If you are desperate to clock in a lot of gaming time for the 3990X for whatever reason, I would recommend disabling SMT and half the cores if possible. Do note that that will require a full system restart though. In closing, there are few use cases that can properly leverage the full 128 threads of the Threadripper 3990X, but those that can show performance that has never been reached by a single desktop processor before. Rendering is definitely one of those use cases. If you're working on a high budget and complex project, the 3990X should be considered. Beyond that though, the use cases are slim and specific, but no doubt there are small groups of users out there that are rejoicing the Threadripper 3990X's existence. For most of you looking to build a production workstation for serious work like rendering, game development, and multicam or high budget video editing, I'd recommend looking toward the 3960X and 3970X instead. You'll save a chunk of money that you'll be able to spend towards an increased memory capacity and maybe even an additional GPU. So while the use cases for the CPU do definitely exist, you really do need to be pushing some serious work and very specific work as well to properly justify it in your system. Nevertheless, if you are looking to upgrade to any of these Threadripper CPUs, I will leave some links down below. As always guys, a huge thanks for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.